years ago, 1,000-mile journey all the way over to Jerusalem. And he had prayed for 4 months, had fasted for 4 months, and he made this 1,000-mile journey all the way over to Jerusalem. And all the time he's got this burden to build these walls in Jerusalem back up. What do you think he was thinking about the whole time? Do you think he just got to Jerusalem and said, hey, your walls are torn down. Why don't we build them? And Jay, I can pick on you. Can I? I mean, can you imagine, and the rest of you, that if you've been in Jerusalem now for the, during the period, the 141 years while Jerusalem was torn down and destroyed, so all of a sudden this guy comes with all this pomp and circumstance, and with all these soldiers and everything, and he comes and he stands there in your city and goes, hey, your walls are torn down. What would we say? Duh. That would be called an overstatement of the obvious, wouldn't it? Who is this guy? What are you thinking? What are you doing? And the fact of the matter is there's more going on here, isn't there? And what do you think that this guy was doing this whole journey? Don't you know he was formulating a plan in his mind? This is an organized man. This is a guy who knows how to make a plan and make things happen. And so the whole time, no doubt, he's thinking about what's going to happen. He's thinking about how he's going to put together a strategic plan to make it so that these walls go up, and it's going to take more than just logistics. We need stone, and we need mortar, and we need wheelbarrows. We need laborers. We need people to buy into this vision. So he's got this vision-driven plan. He's consumed with the vision. You got to understand it. He's consumed with it. And he's formulating the whole way this strategic plan that's going to make it happen. What am I going to do? What am I going to do it? Who's going to help me do it? What are the materials? Not just simply come in front of all these folks and say, hey, I got a cool idea. Why don't we build these walls? Right? If you go, and I'm not going to go in depth into chapter 3, but in chapter 3, we've got that plan then laid out. You're going to find, I counted anywhere from 40 to 48 different individual groups that he mobilized in different areas, doing different things in different parts of the wall. How do you think that happened? He formulated a plan. He had a plan to make it happen and implemented that plan with the people that were there. And there was one group here you can go down and look at. I'll probably get to that. But the nobles, they didn't do anything. I get to that. Nobles didn't do anything. They didn't get involved. Why didn't the nobles get involved? Why didn't they do anything? What does that mean? There's a whole sermon in there, isn't it? Let's talk about the people who won't get involved, who won't roll their sleeves up. By the way, he goes on later on, I'll talk about this in a second, but he says, come let us. He didn't say, hey, you guys. He didn't say, I'm going to rebuild the walls. He didn't say, you're going to rebuild the walls. He said, let us roll up his sleeve. But what about the nobles? Who are the nobles today who don't get involved? What are they doing? Why don't the nobles get involved? Why aren't they building the wall? Beneath them? It's not their job. They're nobles, right? He had a plan. He had a plan, and he shared it with them. Now, I got to tell you something, what I've been doing here for the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to do some more of it because I feel like Nehemiah, verses 11 and 12, going around, looking at the walls. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking at the walls. I'm looking at the walls at New Song. And how do the walls look at New Song? And we need to hear. I almost did a clip. And if I'd had the time, I probably would have done a clip out of the movie A Few Good Men. You guys ever seen the movie A Few Good Men? A few of you have? Jack Nicholson is there, and Tom Cruise is telling him, I want to know the truth. And what is the famous answer? You can't handle the truth. How true is that of so many of us can't handle the truth? Can we look at ourselves individually and can we handle the truth? Do real introspection. Can we handle the truth? Because without the truth, how are we going to make an honest plan? Can we as New Song handle the truth as we honestly evaluate and look at ourselves? I have preached for 22 years now full time. And I preached for many years before that just because it was a military congregation, and when it was your time on the docket, you had to do it. Okay, on the roster, we had to do it. So I've been preaching for a long time. And I tell you one thing I've always been worried about is preaching something that might not sound good to people, telling them the truth. I mean specifically, I don't mind telling the truth about Jesus and salvation, but I mean specifically about a current congregation. You know, they always teach you just say positive stuff. Only tell the positive stuff. Why? Because they can't handle the truth. Well, I don't agree with that anymore. I don't. We need to be able to look at the truth. Truth about the pastor, truth about leadership team, truth about all the ministries and the ministry leaders, truth about us as a congregation, truth. We need to live by truth. We need to love truth. We need to search for truth. So here I am. I'm on this truth project. Going around, looking at the walls at New Song, and what do they look like? And I need to come back and make a report, and then we need to have a plan as to what to do. And I looked around, and you know what I saw? I see a lot of our walls that are good and sound. They're rock solid. They're bringing glory to God. I mean, you look at them, it's wonderful. You look at our worship team, and I know we are so blessed here. And God is being so glorified through our time of worship. It's rock solid. It's wonderful. I thank God for that. And I hope you do too. And that's not something that we take for granted. I look at things like those who participate in life groups. And I see the relationships that people are developing through life groups and how you're really doing life together, how you're ministering to one another, and you're building fellowship with one another. And I'm saying that is another one that's good. I know there are people who tithe faithfully, regularly, solid, rock solid walls, and people that I know that are inviting and they're greeting and they're hospitable and they're wanting to be inclusive and they're searching out company here. You know what my kind of tongue-in-cheek idea of the unpardonable sin is, right? Do you know it? Some of you do. I haven't mentioned it in a long time, but if we have a guest among us and we don't go up and introduce ourselves and greet them, and that's just terrible. And it's not like it's left up to the greeters and left up to the preacher or left up to, certain leaders. It's all of our responsibility. And some are doing that. And I want to share more about the solid things that are going on in our, but I also want to talk about the breaches in the wall. Breaches, breaches. That's not like pants, Do you remember when we were young? Kathy weren't breaches like pants? No, I think I'm right, aren't I, Kathy? Because Kathy seems to have the insight on the English language today. And didn't they call them breaches? Well, I'm not talking about those kind of breaches. It's kind of holes in the wall is what I want to talk about. The places where we need repairs. And by the way, I didn't have the inclusive list of all the places where I know the walls are doing good, and I don't have the inclusive list of all the areas where we need to do some labor and some work. Well, let me share just a few. Youth. We're doing some good things, and I'm so thankful for Lisa and for Mr. Lewandowski and the others who are continuing to work to help build the youth up, the program, to help develop spiritual formation of our kids within the context of their family and with the church family. But there's work that needs to be done there. Big work that needs to be done. And I hope that you're fasting from time to time and praying about this, because it's the future. Our youth. I think about evangelism and how many people are not sharing Jesus with others. And really, even to the extent of their idea of evangelism is simply maybe invite somebody to church, which is fine, but it's not the totality of it at all, by any means. And there are those who still are not involved in life groups and not developing those real, sincere, lifelong relationships and dealing with life together. Many are not committed to discipleship, true discipleship. Many are not involved. And that gets me back to where I started with the beginning. The sad story is that, here we go, we do church every Sunday, and then 90% or more of the people, we all just leave. Or we all just come. We don't realize all that's involved to set up and to tear down. And if it wasn't for the labor of a few, we wouldn't be doing this. Not this way, anyhow. And the various and sundry other needs that are here around you, not just physically here, but I mean at New Song, in the lives of different people. I need a benevolence person. Someone who take that. Well, I've got somebody in training, but one person isn't enough.